Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell, we will be talking about a very strong cold front that will be occurring across the United States. Now, this is a cold front that I'm talking about, not necessarily a storm. Now, this cold front may trigger a pattern that could be very conducive for some snowstorms. In fact, some models are showing a very large potential for some storms of really all sorts of kind, and yeah, an active pattern will be kind of produced from this. That's more on the snowy side because we've been dealing with an active pattern. It's just that this one's going to be a bit more colder, obviously allowing for potentially a bit more of that snowfall. But again, the confidence on an individual storm is a bit lower. It's just that the cold air is likely, if not 100% at this point. It's just the kind of the coupling of the precipitation and the cold front. So yeah, a very, very large cold front, if you will. And I'm going to show you what's kind of going to precede the timeline up until that cold front, which will be occurring somewhere this weekend. For really, I mean, depends where you live. It will be a couple days earlier if you're across the north, and if you're further towards the south, it will be a couple of days later. Now, I do want to say that when I say north-south, this really pertains to the north and south regions east of the Rockies, because the west, there's going to be more of a warmer, consistent pattern, not really affecting you with that cool down, but there will be a lot of activity nonetheless in terms of precipitation from storms riding off the Pacific Ocean. All right, let me play this forward, right? So I don't go too fast and it's more of a moderate pace. And let's see what shows. This is the GFS model. Notice we do have a large storm, right? And this is the timeline. Before actually I let this go any further, here's a timeline. So you can see November 1st, right? October 31st is Sunday. That is Halloween in the United States and, well, wherever it's celebrated elsewhere. And yeah, so let's watch this. Notice what we have. Cold air. Anywhere you see those blue lines, we have cold air. And look what that does. Some snow across Nebraska. Again, you could see that the cold air is pretty consistent. It shows its colors. It's pretty deep, way deeper across the United States than it has been so far this season. But it does eventually go away according to this model. And it gets replaced with a ridge, but then potentially, again, a storm of some kind. But notice, there wasn't really a snowstorm during that time period. And of course, this is just one model, the GFS. Some models, during this kind of invasion of this cold air, which now it's re-showing the same thing I just showed you, it's running a loop, they sneak in a snowstorm right here, some models, and they kind of form a nor'easter. You can see the GFS fails to do that. It does try sneaking something in there, some snow, nothing too big. The lake effects are going to be turned on, the lake effect snow. You can see right there a large blob of precip, nothing really too close to the land. And notice that the northwest will be dealing with constant harassment of rain and snow. But again, that's more of a good thing as it's been pretty dry. It's going to be more centered towards the north and west, but there are quite a few indications that the really California, Nevada, Utah, the southern areas which got impacted by this big storm will continue to see a more active pattern. Definitely way more active than what we've been seeing during the summer, right? So the rain is going to be continuing to fall, which is great news. So now let me show you this same map, but ignore the surface, and let's take a look at the 2-meter temperature anomaly. So this basically shows us where it's above or below average. So where it's blue, that means it's cooler than average for that time of the year. So say for October 28th, and there is an average for every single day, in case you're wondering, and nights of temperatures, which they've taken from 1981 through 2010 climatology. This website uses this set of 30 years. And obviously, yes, so let's see what the pattern does. Obviously, if there's a large cool down, that means a cold blast of air. And right now, we don't see that. We see a bit of cool air across the south, but look across the north and west. Around this time of the weekend, look, this cool air, it does end up spreading into much of the eastern United States. Now, some models make this cold air a lot more significant than the GFS. Regardless, it's still the most significant kind of widespread cool down, and it doesn't go away quite easily. It dwindles, especially across the eastern and southern United States for a while. Now, again, you can see this model does bring in some warm air around the November 10th timeline, but you can see that that doesn't too also stay along for a while, and we kind of see a bickering between the air masses. So if you're wondering when this cool air will be affecting you, let's go through this a bit slower. So again, no one will be impacted by this in really our observance area up until this weekend. By early Saturday, portions of the northwest will be impacted and portions of the southwest. However, it doesn't really make its way down towards the west, further south and west. There's just too big of a ridge that keeps that air away, and it therefore slides, kind of using it as a slide, a ramp, this warm air, and it slides into the southern, eastern, and northern United States. So by Sunday, if you live across areas like Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, especially the upper plains, you will start feeling cooler temperatures. Further eastward, it will be feeling warm for some, cool for others. Really nothing that big. You won't really be feeling a cool down. Now by Monday, this is Monday at 1 p.m., you can see most of the Midwest is feeling the cool air. The Northeast, not so much quite yet, neither the Southwest, or sorry, the South, and you can see though California is cooler, and that's because of some rain that's going to be coming in and bringing some rain-cooled, cloud-covered air, if you will. So, not really the air mass, but still pretty cool for some days. Notice this is now by Tuesday. You could see it now that Northeast is feeling it, now further towards the South into Oklahoma, towards, Texas. Midwest still being, chilly. So I will show you the temperatures for some of these days. I won't show them for every day because, again, I don't want to go too in detail, but you can see these are chilly temperatures, 40s, 50s. Obviously, the further south, if it's above average, it's going to still be warmer. But definitely in the nights, because that's the daytime, in the nights, yes, frost. So widespread for many, and it's about time. If you haven't seen a frost across kind of the northern states, I know I haven't, so we've gone pretty close here in the Chicago area. I kind of get shielded from the city with the city's help because an urban heat island effect, the lake also. So usually at this time of the year, even with those circumstances of being closer to the city, like we still have usually seen our first frost. This year we haven't, which is why, the first frost is always kind of the biggest one because that's when it kind of indicates the end of the growing season for many. And I do have a garden, in case you don't know. Those that have been watching know that very well. So obviously my growing season still hasn't ended. The carrots, everything that can withstand 39 degrees plus is still in there. But notice that by Thursday, Friday, this continues sagging down, and by next weekend, so a week from now, you could see it's still there, just away from the Midwest and more towards the South and the East. And even by the 10th, so this is now 300 hours out, you could still see it lingering, maybe in some portions of the Northeast there, but at this point, during this week, it looks as if there could be a ridging. Now, again, not all models show that this cool air mass going away and getting replaced by this heat. Some show another one impacting. So we just really know what's going to happen up until hour 240. And after that, it gets more fuzzy. So let's take a look at some other models. The GFS. The Canadian. Let's take a look at that. I just did show you the GFS, so I don't want to be focusing on that. Let's see what the Canadian shows. Again, this one's a bit more messier with its anomalies, and it takes a 6-hour interval as well, but it only goes out to 240 hours. So again, no cold air up until this weekend. Saturday slides down into the Midwest, the East, and South, all affected by this mid portion of next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. And you can see the Canadian keeps that cool air all around for a bit longer than a GFS, but it too kind of starts replacing it with potentially some warmer air. Not as vigorous as what the GFS was doing, but you could see that it is, moved away from these areas for the most part, but still is residing across the East and the South when this forecast period runs out, which is 240 hours out. So we'll have to see what follows that, but definitely showing that cool air as well. In terms of 2-meter temperature shaded, let's go back to hour 00 and play this forward. Again, there's your timeline day by day, so just choose your location and watch the temperature change. Yes, it's going fast. I'm not here to provide you a daily forecast, just to show you that, look, those blue colors, they're coming. And if you see blue colors over your area every day, that means it's a frost, all right, a freeze in some. I mean, you can see there's single digits across even southern Canada. So, again, it's going to be a pretty chilly air mass. It's been warm. So seeing something that's normal is already chillier, right? And then seeing something that's below normal is going to feel cold. I was saying this. I don't think 40 degrees has ever felt colder for me when the first 40 degree came here, which wasn't up until a few days ago across my area. And yeah, you can see that during the nights on some of these days, it gets cold, especially in the earlier kind of phases of this cool down. Look at that, the single digits right there across Montana and North Dakota. So yeah, definitely chill, cool down, right? And again, the Canadian, like the GFS, doesn't really show a snowstorm. It does show some snow, more than there has been, but nothing too significant. That was hour 240. This is the full 240 hours, and you can see that does show that lake effect snow, however, and some mountain snow. The GFS, just to show you through this same exact time frame, does show a bit more, maybe across that northeast. It tries forming that nor'easter across Nebraska, maybe North Platte getting impacted by that, and portions of the mountains seeing some decent snowfall. Taking out even further, you can see that it does kind of stave that snow away, but it continues to snow across southern Canada and the northwest. I do want to say, though, look at the model run from the GFS just from today in the morning. Look what it showed across Nebraska right there. That was a pretty big event right there in terms of snow. So again, and you can see that it showed quite a bit more for the south west as well. And these modeled, each model one is slightly different. You can see this one showed a bit more across southern Canada. The one at midnight yesterday showed a snowstorm across Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri of pretty large proportions. So again, it's just what the GFS thinks right now will result of that. And the cold air, it's consistent. It hasn't changed. However, whether or not there will be snow with this cold down for much of the U.S., that's more of that's a pretty large question mark. And each model seems to be having troubles with that. Canadian, it's been showing cold air ever since I've been making the video about this pattern change for the past 2 days. And but the snow, look, this is what it showed a few days ago. A giant snowstorm across the south. This is what it showed 2 days ago, or sorry, yesterday during the noon time model run. You can see not that aggressive. This is the one that was yesterday in the at midnight. You can see it showed more snow across Nebraska, some decent lake effect snow, and then today's shows lake effect snow, but not as aggressive across really the west, the southwest. So there's some differences, and we'll just have to keep an eye on this, whether or not the snow kind of comes with this cool down. But definitely the cold air is coming, which is why that strong cold front is being titled with, which is why the video is titled "Strong Cold Front is Coming," not to say winter storm, because again, the cold front, yes, not really a winter storm. And I do want to show you that the European model high res, right? This is a very good model. It does a very good job. Let me show you its surface map. And again, here's the date. It's very small, but right there, the 30th, 6Z. So that's basically 6 in the morning. UTC using which is I think United something. It's basically like if you were to take the center portion of basically the time of London, UK, that region, that time zone, it's 6Z. So obviously for us and like for Chicago, that's 2 a.m. because it's again the times change. So basically, just look at this day by day. Don't pay attention to the exact hours. I could explain the hourly kind of why this is 060 and what that means in maybe a separate video, because it's not really important in this case if you don't know how to do it. And notice that it does show that cool air, right? We have that snowstorm across eastern Canada. It does bring some lake effect snow. Try showing some cold air there. Again, this is the 5th. This is Friday next week. You can see it just does try showing some sort of precip event across the northeast, just not enough cold air. Sweeps it away. Let me run through that again. Again, you can see cooler air moving in Monday. Now this is Tuesday. This is now Wednesday. This is now Thursday. This is Friday. And you can see that is next weekend. So it doesn't show a snowstorm. It shows a cool air mass. And it's been consistently showing that. And again, I do want to say that it does show snow across the higher elevations and certain areas that are kind of more likely to see it at this time of the year. And you can see it's been consistent with that from model to model base. But I mean, regarding a snowstorm across the lower elevation areas or areas that usually don't see snow or really, sometimes do, sometimes don't, you can see this is the one from midnight today. Today at midnight it showed snow across northeast. The one from yesterday showed more across Nebraska, and you can see this is the one now. So shows some snow here, but not across the northeast. It's a complete change. So we'll have to wait and see. It does show cold air. It does show still sign of that cold front brought by that big storm across eastern Canada, as you saw. And let me show you these temperature anomalies like I did with the other models, just to show you that this one is really no different, and it's going to continue showing that. So again, warm air. This one also shows you the digits of how warm or below it is. We have that cold air starting to show by Monday, Sunday. Look at that in the Midwest, the East, especially across the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle. The European really brings some chilly air there compared to the other ones. But you could see that. Let's run this through again. So this is Friday. This is Saturday. This is Sunday. Watch those air masses. Choose your region and pick it out. Tuesday. Wednesday. This is Thursday. This is now Friday. This is now Saturday. And this is now Sunday. So Sunday of next week, notice that cold air, let me go back to that slide, it's still there, and it's still more present than what the GFS showed at that time frame. And it's pretty chilly, but it's across more of the east, portions of southern Midwest, and again, there is some warmer air that starts moving in. Not a massive heat wave, these are anomalies of 6-7 degrees, so it's going to feel warm compared to, if it's 12 degrees below and then you have 12 degrees above, that's a 24 degree difference. But yeah, the models kind of have a trouble showing that. But notice each model shows a cooldown. They do have some differences with the cooldown. Some like the Europeans show it a bit stronger, especially across the South Central Plains. Which, let's go back to some of those readings, because those were you might have not seen that because of how quick it went through. But look at that. I mean, 22 degrees below average, 23. That is a lot. If we were seeing these anomalies across the Dakotas, that would be single digits for all of those locations during the night, which is definitely very imposing reading. But, I mean, this may not seem as significant, though, that's 36, but again, this is Texas, right? This is Oklahoma. And granted, this is, this is during the night or during the day, 7 p.m., so the overnight, I'm assuming, would be even colder. Yeah, frost across much of these locations, which usually don't see it that early, I would say, but definitely, these anomalies, these temperature anomalies, do occur sometimes across these areas, as especially if there's snowpack here, which the European shows, and that cold air rides over that snow and spills into these locations that are kind of close to the western front or the eastern half of the Rockies. So yeah, I mean, this cool air will be affecting everyone. I mean, you can see it goes down potentially 40s and 30s all the way to the Gulf Coast. Early November. That's pretty significant anomaly, and definitely something that's happened before, but hasn't happened in a few years. So I mean, last year November, I remember the second week of November there were straight 70s here in Chicago, right? And then I mean, this year it's not going to be the case. I mean, obviously last year was an anomaly, but yeah, I mean 40s, that's almost halved compared to what we were seeing last year. So yeah, definitely a chilly air mass, right? And again, and maybe not a snowstorm, but we'll have to see. And for this kind of snowstorm talk, I want to show you these ensembles. These are European models, 51 different ones for specifics. And let's see what their 15-day snowfall total forecast shows. Look, so some show a nor'easter right there. Maybe some snow across the Midwest. Some show very good amounts across the mountains, the Sierras. Look at that, 40 inches potentially. Signs of cool air, because we have not heavy snow across the kind of Illinois, Michigan area, but it's definitely there. Some light traces, maybe some snow showers. Look at that. That's definitely a blizzard that probably forms off a large system that kind of forms across the east. Look at that. Those amounts across Quebec are massive. So again, southern Canada, for my Canadian viewers, it seems more likely that you will be kind of getting that snow because obviously while you're further to the north and it's colder, will be kind of coming in waves. So even if it is cold across the south, it's all relative, right, for that time of the year. And you can see that they do show quite a bit of snow. Maybe not a snowstorm, but I think you will be seeing flakes flying in the next 2 weeks if you live across, say, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, those large cities across the flank here, or maybe even, in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. And you can see that this one, for example, shows snow across Denver, kind of what the European was showing, but not as aggressive. And you could see this one, it's more of a, I mean, it shows cold air, obviously, but it's more of a drier scenario. Definitely that cold air presence, because look how far some of this snow falls into Arkansas, maybe Tennessee. I mean, it's definitely a interesting scenario. And as we continue pushing this forward, let me just show you the different scenarios. Look at this one. Very heavy snow across the southern Canadian prairies. This one, very heavy snow, but more towards, Ontario, Manitoba. And again, just because one area is snowy in Canada doesn't mean the other will be. Again, Canada's massive, just like the U.S. So, you can see this one doesn't show much for the southern Canadian, southeastern Canada areas, the cities in Ontario and in Quebec. And you can see that as I push this forward, that a lot of them, don't show really heavy snow amounts across the south like some of them did, but they show traces, which shows that there's enough cold air for that to happen. And each one, again, there's a lot of differences. Look at this one. Look how much snow it shows compared to this one, which pretty much shows nothing for that same exact area. And you can see there's a nor'easter right there. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of differences, and you could see some show overall, I mean, really snowy pattern, and then some not so much. This one does still relatively show a snowy pattern. You could see. Let me just run forward through these models, and you could see just the differences, right? I'm not really trying to choose any single one and talk about it. Just how many different ones there are. There's really no agreement other than, yes, there will be snow somewhere across the Canada and U.S., obviously, because it's nearing towards winter. Just where that falls, I mean, look at this one. This one just blows up a system right there. While this one says, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, there's not even a single trace right there, right? So, yeah. I would say, though, that there are several models that do show a trend of a northeast system, right? But again, it's not enough to call a potential snowstorm. And, yeah, you can see that the west, kind of various areas potentially seeing a snow system. So at this point, I will just say a strong cold front is coming, cold air, cooler air. Whether or not you will see snow, You'll just have to stay tuned. Now, this set of models goes out to 46 days, so it takes us right into December, the 12th of December. So we're pretty much right into Christmas time. And notice, so this is basically geopotential height. This is actually where 500 millibars, whether or not they're higher or above in terms of their height. And if they're higher, that means that it's warmer. If it's lower, it's cooler than a sink, and it's cooler. So that's the difference between these. And notice that really it doesn't really matter, because where you see blue, it's pretty much going to be cooler. That's all you have to know. We do see that cool air, right? It does show some signs of a warm-up, the ridging, right? But it's not really impressive enough to create anything. And then look, as we approach December, they show more cool down, right? And the further you go out, if they show something more kind of significant, that means that they have some decent sort of confidence in it, right? So it's pretty interesting that they're showing this cool blotch of air with being so far out, you know. And usually they do have more of a warm bias. So we'll have to see. There could be a snowier December this year for a good portion of the country, perhaps. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya.